Hello students. Today we are going to start with chapter 4 from the book Moments in the Kingdom of Fools. Well, this chapter is taken from the folk tales from India written by A.K. Ramanujan, and it's basically written in Kannada. Kannada, as you all know, is a regional language which is spoken in the state of Karnataka. So this is a Kannada folk tale. And what is a folk tale? Folk tale is a story which is passed on from one generation to another. Okay, now let me just brief you about the chapter or the story. Well, the title of the story, as you all know, is In the Kingdom of Fools, which means that the state or the kingdom in which people are not so wise, they are not intelligent. In this story also, the king, his ministers and his advisors are fools. And when this kind of people rule the kingdom, then what all happens has been told in this story. So let's read the chapter. In the kingdom of fools, both the king and the minister were idiots. Idiots means stupid, people who are not intelligent. They didn't want to run things like other things, so they decided to change night into day and day into night. So as has been told, that the king and the minister both were stupid, both were fools. So they just ordered that the work which was done at night would be done during the daytime, and the work which was done during the daytime would be done during night time. They ordered that everyone should be awake at night, till their fields and run their businesses only after dark, and go to bed as soon as the sun came up. Anyone who disobeyed would be punished with death. So this was the order that the king passed, and they also told that if anyone would disobey the order, he will be punished with death. Means they are going to execute him or her. So the people, they were like helpless. The people did as they were told for fear of death. The king and the minister were delighted at the success of their project. Now, that is, another sign of a fool, that, people start following them. They feel that they have become powerful. So that exactly happened. People were scared, and they had no other option just to obey what the order was. Though the order was quite strange. And the king and his minister were very happy that everyone is following their order. Now, one day, a guru and his disciple arrived in the city. It was a beautiful city. It was broad daylight, but there was no one about. Everyone was asleep, not a mouse stirring. Even the cattle had been taught to sleep by day. So one day what happened? A saint arrived with one of his disciples, and they observed that though it was a bright sunny day, but there was not a man, not even a mouse in the city. So they were surprised, and they even looked here and there, and even saw that the cattle was also sleeping. So every human as well as all the animals were sleeping in the daytime. The two strangers were amazed by what they saw around them and wandered around town till evening. Then suddenly the whole town woke up and went about its nightly business. So the two strangers were quite surprised, and they kept on roaming in the city till evening time, and as soon as the sun set, they saw that everyone woke up and started doing their work. Businessmen were doing business and farmers were farming. So the two men, obviously, since morning they were here. So the two men were hungry. Now that the shops were open, they went to buy some groceries. To their astonishment, they found that everything cost the same. A single dudu, where they bought a measure of rice or a bunch of bananas, it costs. So the guru and his disciple were delighted. They had never heard of anything like this. They could buy all the food they wanted for a rupee. So the guru and disciple were happy because they were already hungry and they found everything so cheap. So they just purchased everything for just a rupee. When they had cooked and eaten, the Guru realized that this was a kingdom of fools and wouldn't be a good idea for them to stay here. As you know, that the Guru was quite intelligent, he was a wise man. He felt that it appears to him that it was unsafe for them to stay here, because he realized that it was a kingdom of fools. This is no place for us, let's go, he said to his disciple. But the disciple didn't want to leave the place. Everything was cheap here. All he wanted was good, cheap food. So, students, the disciple was not that wise. He just refused to go back with his guru, and he thought that he can enjoy his life here by eating so much of food, because the food was cheap there. So he just refused to go. So what happened? The guru said, they are all fools. This won't last very long, and you can't tell what they will do to you next. But the disciple wouldn't listen to the guru's wisdom. He wanted to stay. The guru finally gave up and said, do what you want, I am going, and left. So finally the guru left, and the disciple stayed there, and he ate his fill every day. And what all he used to eat? Bananas and ghee and rice and wheat, and grew fat like a street side sacred bull. And he became so fat, by eating everything, because everything was quite cheap over there. And he became like a huge bull. One bright day, a thief broke into a rich merchant's house. He had made a hole in the wall and sneaked in. And as he was carrying out his loot, the wall of the old house collapsed on his head and killed him on the spot. So all these things were going on, and then one day, what happened? One bright day, a thief broke out. Now, generally, what happens, that a thief comes at night, because at night everyone sleeps. But here, because everyone used to sleep in the daytime, so the thief came in the daytime and he tried to loot. And when he looted, a wall collapsed on his head, fell down on his head, and he was killed. His brother ran to the king and complained, Your Highness, when my brother was pursuing his ancient trade, a wall fell on him and killed him. This merchant is to blame. He should have built a good, strong wall. You must punish the wrongdoer and compensate the family for his injustice. Now, the thief's brother went to king and complained that, my brother was pursuing his ancient trade. Now, you can see that this was his family business. Ancient trade means that it was running in their family. And he complained that the merchant in whose house his brother was doing the robbery, that he should be punished, because his walls were not that strong, and that's why his brother was killed. The king said, Justice will be done, don't worry. He said that the justice will be done, don't worry, and at once summoned the owner of the house. So the king called the owner of the house, and when the merchant arrived, the king questioned him, What's your name? Such and such, Your Highness. Were you at home when the dead man burgled your house? Yes, my lord, he broke in and the wall was weak. It fell on him. So the accused pleads guilty. Your wall killed this man's brother. You have murdered a man. We have to punish you. So the king asks the merchant that since your wall was weak, so you need to be punished because of your carelessness. The wall collapsed and the man was killed. Lord, said the helpless merchant, I didn't put up the wall. It's really the fault of the man who built the wall. He didn't build it right. You should punish him. Now the merchant has its say, because he also wanted to save his life. He said that I'm not here to be punished. The person who built the wall has to be punished. And the king all agreed on that, because everybody here more or less are fools. So the merchant said that, my lord, this wall was built in my father's time. I know the man. He's an old man now. He lives nearby. So the merchant said that it's an old house and this was built in my father's time. And the person lives nearby. The king sent out messengers to bring in the bricklayer who had built the wall. They brought him tied hand and foot. Now the bricklayer, the mason, the person who was responsible for building this wall was brought. He was an old man, and the king explained the entire thing to him and asked him, you there, did you build this man's wall in his father's time? Yes, my lord, I did. What kind of wall is that you built? It has fallen on a poor man and killed him. You have murdered him. We have to punish you by death. So before the king could order the execution. Now, this old man was thinking that, he'll be punished. So, but before that, the bricklayer said, "Please listen to me before you give your orders. It's true, I built this wall. It was no good, but that was because my mind was not on it. I remember very well a dancing girl who was going up and down that street all day with her anklets jingling, and I couldn't keep my eyes on my mind on the wall I was building. You must get that dancing girl. I know where she lives." Now, this old man also put the entire blame on a lady whom he said that she was walking up and down with her anklets and he was not able to concentrate on the work that he was doing. So the king ordered to call that dancing girl also. "You are right, the case deepens. We must look into it. It's not easy to judge such complicated cases. Let's get the dancer wherever she is." So the dancing girl, now she has also become an old woman, came trembling to the court. "Did you walk up and down that street many years ago while this poor man was building a wall? Did you see him?" Now the lady was being questioned. Now the lady is also old now, and she admitted, "Yes, my lord, I remember it very well." "So you did walk up and down with your anklets jingling? You were young and you distracted him, so he built a bad wall. It has fallen on a poor burglar and killed him. You have killed an innocent man. You will have to be punished." So the king was putting the blame on this lady who was once a young dancing girl, and he said that since you are responsible for this indirectly, so you will have to be punished. She thought for a minute. So she thought for a minute and said, "My lord, wait. I only know why I was walking up and down that street. I had given some gold to the goldsmith to make some jewelry for me. He was a lazy scoundrel. He made me so many excuses and said he would give it now and he would give it then, and so all day he made me walk up and down to his house a dozen times." So now this lady put the blame on the goldsmith, telling that I gave some gold to make some jewelry, and he just saying, "I'll be making it now, I'll be making it then," and so she had to go to his house every now and then. So this dancing lady also put the blame on the goldsmith. So that was when this bricklayer saw me. "It's not my fault, my lord. It's the damned goldsmith's fault." So now the lady also put the entire blame on goldsmith. "Poor thing, she's absolutely right," thought the king, weighing the evidence. "We have got the real culprit at last. Get the goldsmith wherever he is hiding at once." So the king ordered and asked to get the goldsmith. The king's bailiffs, all right. The king's bailiffs searched for the goldsmith who was hiding in a corner of his shop. When he heard the accusation against him, he had his own story to tell. Now, the blame was passing on from one person to another, and finally it has come to the goldsmith, and now the goldsmith also has something to tell. "My lord," he said, "I am a poor goldsmith. It's true I made this dancer come many times to my door. I gave her excuses because I couldn't finish making her jewelry before I finished the rich merchant's orders. They had a wedding coming and they wouldn't wait. You know how impatient rich men are." And now he's putting the blame on some rich merchant, and he's saying that there was this wedding, and that rich merchant was forcing me to complete his work. Then this ladies. So the king asked, "Who is this rich merchant who kept you from finishing this poor man's jewelry, made her walk up and down, which distracted this bricklayer, which made a mess of this wall, which has now fallen on an innocent man and killed him? Can you name him?" Okay, so the goldsmith named the merchant, and he was none other than the original owner of the house whose wall had fallen. So finally, it came back to that merchant only. Now justice had come full circle. We call such situation, full circle, thought the king back to the merchant. When he was rudely summoned back to the court, he arrived crying. It wasn't me, but my father who ordered the jewelry. He is dead. I am innocent. Now, the merchant was also very smart. He said that my father ordered the jewelry and I'm not responsible for that. So and he said that my father is dead now. So I'm not to be blamed. But the king consulted his minister and ruled decisively. It's true, your father is the true murderer. He is dead. But somebody must be punished in his place. You have inherited everything from that criminal father of yours, his riches as well as all his sins. I knew at once, even when I first set eyes on you, that you were at the root of this horrible crime. You must die. Now, the king consulted his minister and came to the conclusion that when this merchant has inherited everything from his father, he should inherit his sins also, his crime also. And so the king announced that the merchant has to die. As he ordered, a new stake to be made ready for the execution. Or as the servants sharpened the stake and got it ready for the final impaling of the criminal, it occurred to the minister that the rich merchant was somehow too thin to be properly executed on the stake. He appealed to the king's common sense. The king too worried about it. Now, when they looked at the merchant, he was very thin, and the minister thought that he is too thin to get killed. So, and this he discussed this with king, and king also agreed. So the king asked, "What shall we do?" He said, when suddenly it struck him that all they needed to do was to find a man fat enough to fit the stake. So they thought that let's find someone who is really fat so that he can be killed in place of the merchant, because of the simple reason that the merchant was very thin and they wanted some fat man. So the servants were immediately sent all over and looking for a man who would fit the stake, and their eyes fell on the disciple who had fattened himself for months on bananas and rice and wheat and ghee. "What have I done wrong? I'm innocent. I'm a sannyasi," he cried. "That may be true, but it's the royal decree that we should find a man fat enough to fit the stake," they said, and carried him to the place of execution. So finally, the wise man's word, the saint Guru's words came true, and the disciple was carried to that place. And now he remembered his wise Guru's words. This is a city of fools. You don't know what they will next do. So finally, the wise man has suggested, so now he must be thinking, that I could have gone with my Guru. While he was waiting for death, he prayed to his Guru in his heart, asking him to hear his cry wherever he was. The Guru saw everything in a vision. He had magic powers. He could see far, and he could see the future as he could see the present and the past. So this Guru was really, really wise, and he was gifted also. And the disciple remembered him with his heart, and the Guru was able to listen to him, was able to see his situation. So what happened? He arrived at once to save his disciple, who had got himself into such a scrape through love of food. Now the Guru arrived there, and when they were about to execute him, though he had not done anything wrong, but again he was about to execute it, because it was a kingdom of fools. So as soon as he arrived, he scolded the disciple and told him something in a whisper. Because the Guru was wise, so he just whispered something in the disciple's ears. Then he went to the king and addressed him, "O wisest of kings, who is greater, the Guru or the disciple?" "Of course, the Guru." "No doubt about it. Why do you ask?" So what the Guru did, he just went to the king and asked him that, "King, what do you think? Who is more greater, the Guru or the disciple?" So the king said, "Of course, the Guru is more great." "Then put me to a stake first. Put my disciple to death after me." So the Guru suggested that instead of my disciple, execute me, sentence me to death. Now the king was a little confused that why this wise man wants to die. So when the disciple heard this, he understood and began to clamor and began to shout, "Me first, you brought me here first, put me to death first, not him." Now This was, now you can, now students, have you understood what the wise man, the old man, told his disciple into his ears? So when the guru asked for the death sentence, there the disciple started saying, ki, no, I want to die. So the guru and the disciple now got into a fight about who should go first. The king was puzzled by this behavior. He asked the guru, why do you want to die? We chose him because we needed a fat man for the stake. Now here the question came into king's mind, that why this man wants to die. So what do you think the guru replied? He replied, you shouldn't ask me such questions. Put me to death first, replied the guru. Now the guru was very smart. He was quite sensible. Why? There is some mystery here. As a wise man, you must make me understand. Now the king was also adamant. He was saying that you are a wise man and I want you to explain everything to me. Will you promise to put me to death if I tell you? Asked the guru. Now the guru took the promise that if I am going to tell you the entire truth, will you promise me that you will be putting me to death? The king gave him a solemn word. The guru took him aside out of the servant's earshot and whispered to him, do you know why we want to die right now, the two of us? We have been all over the world, but we have never found a city like this or a king like you. The stake is the stake of the God of justice. It's new. It has never had a criminal on it. So this was the story that the wise man cooked. He said that this stake is, that place where the person is executed. He said that this stake is the God of justice and it has never had a criminal. So whosoever dies on it first will be reborn as the king of this country. And whosoever goes next will be the future minister of this country. We are sick of our aesthetic life. It would be nice to enjoy ourselves as king and a minister for a while. Now keep your word, my lord, and put us to death. Me first, remember. Now the wise man just cooked up a story and said that, whosoever will die first will become king in the next life, and whosoever will die next after that person will become his, minister. And this is a story he told. And he said that now we are, fed up of our strict sannyasi life and we want to be king in our next lives. Although it was all fake, this was just a cooked up story by the guru. The king was now thrown into deep thought. He didn't want to lose the kingdom to someone else in the next round of life. He needed time. So he ordered the execution postponed to the next day and talked in secret with his minister. Now, he was also greedy, the king. The king thought that in next life also he should become the king. So he just took some time to discuss with his minister and postponed the meeting. It's not right for us to give over the kingdom to others in the next life. Let's go on the stake ourselves and we will be reborn as king and minister again. Holy man, do not tell lies, he said, and the minister agreed. Now, the king and the minister, thought that the wise man must be telling the truth. And they agreed with him. And they thought that why should we let go of our kingdom? So they decided that they would be dying, first the king and then the minister. So he told the executioners, we will send the criminals tonight. When the first man comes to you, put him to death first. Then do the same to the second man. Those are my orders. Don't make any mistake. So what he did, he called the executioners and then said that I'll be sending you two people and put the first one to death and then make the other one also put to death. And he ordered that it's my order, don't do any mistake. So that night, the king and his minister went secretly to the prison, released the guru and the disciple, disguised themselves as the two, and as arranged beforehand with royal servants were taken to the stake and promptly executed. Now, the guru and the disciple exactly wanted this only to happen. So the king and the minister, as you know, they were fools. They believed him, and what they did, they disguised themselves. Disguise means like they put on a different appearance to hide their original identity. And finally, as it was ordered, the king and the minister were executed, and the guru and the minister and his disciple, they were released. And in the morning, When the bodies were taken down to be thrown to crows and vultures, the people panicked. Why they panicked? Because they saw that the dead bodies were of the king and the minister. So the whole city, the people of the city were in confusion. They were under this impression that that man has to be executed, but they saw that the king and the minister were dead in front of their eyes. All night they mourned and discussed the future of the kingdom. Some people were suddenly thought of the guru and the disciple and caught up with them as they were preparing to leave town unnoticed. Now here the guru and his disciple, they were just planning to leave the city without being noticed by anyone, but then people caught them and requested them. We people need a king and a minister, said someone. Others agreed. They begged the guru and the disciple to be their king and their minister. So the people, were also, fed up with this kind of foolishness of the king and the minister, and they thought that this guru and the disciple, they are so wise how they have saved themselves. So they just requested the guru to be the king and the disciple to be the minister. Okay, so what happened? It didn't take many arguments to persuade the disciple, but it took longer to persuade the guru. So the guru was not getting convinced, but somehow the people convinced him. They finally agreed. Then they finally agreed to rule the kingdom of the foolish king and the silly minister on the condition that they could change all the old laws. Now the guru agreed on that condition, but that all laws will be changed according to him. So from then on, night would again be night and day would again be day, and you could get nothing for a small amount of money, and it became like any other place. So finally, students, you see that if you are surrounded by fools, you end up being in some problem or in some kind of disappointment or something. So it's always wise to be in the company of wise people and stay away from foolish people, and at least and people also, wise people also, that you should not argue with foolish people. And also, so this is an old story, folk tale, and which you have read, and I'm sure you have enjoyed it. Thank you so much.